Hi, Kieran here again. Hope you're all good. This is a reply to Inmendham. It's my second or third reply in this series to him about antinatalism. Hi Inmendham, hope you're good. Sorry it took a while to make this video, I was a bit busy. Okay, you make quite a lot of points in your video. I'll try to respond. I've kind of jotted down a few kind of general ideas of what you're saying, and I'll try to respond to those points. If I misrepresent anything you say, then by all means tell me. Okay, first sort of main point you seem to be making throughout the video is that pleasure is, as you've I think said before, just satisfying a need or addiction. Whereas I seem to see it as a kind of more of an important sort of thing in itself. I mean, if you're trying to make out that pleasure is not of value because it's just sort of meeting a need or addiction, then I don't think you're really, for me, you're not really proving that point. I mean, even if I grant that you're right, that to get pleasure you always have to meet a need or an addiction or desire or whatever. That I still maintain that pleasure is a distinct quality, a conscious quality of like a conscious experience. There's still something about having a pleasurable experience that is different to anything else you experience. I mean, if you'd never had pleasurable experiences and one day you did for the first time, pardon me, then you'd say, oh, wow, I just had there was just something different about that experience. There's something amazing that's happened to me, or something new. So I think it is a distinct sort of phenomenon. And also, morally, I don't, or value-wise or whatever, I don't see why I can't sort of attach value to those kinds of experiences, even if it is meeting a need that could be failed to be met, or is like a risk or whatever. I mean, if I thought smoking would give you more pleasure in your life than pain overall, including all the repercussions of it, then I'd advise you to get that addiction. It seems to be an addiction worth having. Okay, actually, on your point about whether pleasure is always meeting a need, I actually don't I don't actually agree with you. I think that my hunch is that the pleasure is actually just this state that could be attained in a mind without it really being a need, or something that there would be a withdrawal sort of effect if you didn't have it. But I think because we've always been stuck as being humans, we're used to the kind of psychological setup we have, where pleasure is pretty much always a reward for something kind of to promote our genes, or something similar to something in the evolutionary past that would have promoted our genes. And we're used to like our psychology doing bad things to us when we stop having pleasure. I think that we're wired to always have a kind of withdrawal effect when the stimulus of the pleasure is taken away. But I think in the future we could create an artificial intelligence that, I mean, to make a crude example, is we could get a machine that's not attached to anything in the outside world, that just thinks a happy thought and just get it on repeat, just to repeat this happy thought. That would be a machine that would be happy all the time, and I wouldn't describe it as a need or a desire. It's just having this pleasant thought. You might think it's having a need or not, I don't know. But my hunch is you could do it more sophisticatedly and have a proper thinking machine that is just, as the happiness knob sort of turned up, and it just isn't sort of constrained by this kind of evolutionary setup that we've got, and it's free of our our needs, but does have pleasure. One sort of little point to you mentioned like an orgasm being an escape from your sort of problems. Yeah, I don't really accept that. I think it's just a moment of extreme pleasure. I think it's just an intense moment of pleasure, and the reason you forget all your worries is because of the intensity of the pleasure. I think you get the same with the pain as well. If a dog was biting my leg, I'd forget all my sort of financial worries. And it's the same with intense pleasure. I think that's what causes the forgetting. If you were given an amnesia drug and forgot everything about your life, then you would just sit there confused for a second, wondering where you were. You wouldn't experience some like massive orgasmic pleasure. Okay, anyway, moving on to another point you make throughout the video. You say that, I mean, aside from whether it's a need or not, I guess, you think the pleasure is just not that great and it's just not worth the pain. I mean, you think a sensible person would just wouldn't endure pain to get pleasure. Well, I disagree. I think from a rational individual's point of view, whatever that is, and from society's point of view, I think it is some pleasures are worth enduring some pains for. For example, you mentioned these people climbing mountains and stuff. You acknowledge some people do endure pain to get pleasures. But yeah, I think most of us would do it as well. I mean, most single men would like endure like say 20 minutes on a bus stop in the freezing cold, if that was on the way to a hot date for them, or we certainly endure a sort of slight pinprick in the arm in order to like go on a hot date. I don't know why you'd have to have a pinprick in the arm to go on a hot date, but if you had to go through that, I think most kind of single men would. Yeah, you mentioned an example of like you wouldn't get eaten by a crocodile for 3 minutes, like slowly, in order to have 100 orgasms. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't do that. I think most people probably wouldn't. Even if the crocodile didn't do any permanent damage. If I was suddenly magically restored to the way I was before the crocodile came along, I think the pain of it would be greater than the pain of the pleasure of the 100 orgasms. Interesting thing is, as a utilitarian, I mean, I'm interested in weighing things up like that, and I accept. Like pain and pleasure are kind of like apples and oranges. They are two very different things. So the only way I can think of like attaching a value, like a score to a pain and a pleasure, is to say like this kind of compensation approach, as I call it, to say like how many orgasms would be worth 3 minutes with a crocodile. I mean, personally, I think all these pains can be weighed up, and I think that I would endure that crocodile sensation for 3 minutes in order to have orgasmic pleasure on tap for the rest of my life. So I think there is a point where I would endure it, but I certainly wouldn't take this view that you can't endure you wouldn't endure any pain. I would certainly endure a pinprick for a lot of small pleasures. So I don't see anything wrong with, from an individual point of view, kind of selfish point of view or rational point of view, or whatever you want to call it, or from a society's point of view. I don't see anything wrong with enduring some pain. I don't think there should be a kind of prohibition on that, but more of that in a minute. Okay, also in the video you repeat this point that you think there are more pains than pleasures in the world, or in my life. You specifically say there's probably more blights than pleasures in my life. I'm still going with these surveys. Most people say they're like 8 out of 10 for happiness. I don't have any much else to go on. You say, okay, these people are breeders of breeders, which is a good phrase. These people have evolved, so you can't expect a objective point of view on life. They're going to be really pro-life. But I think evolution works a bit different to that. I think the way evolution's made us all like carry on the species is more by making us like sex and think it's really important to sort of raise children, to look after young humans. So I don't think Mother Nature's necessarily necessarily going to make us sort of really positive about our life now. It just, I think it, in fact, you could imagine us being really negative on ourselves all the time in order, maybe nature would do that to us in order to spur us on or something, you know. It's this carrot or the stick kind of thing. But people seem to be saying they're happy overall, and I think it seems more likely that, given that they are happy than that they are unhappy. You could be right, maybe they are giving the opposite answer to what they're really experiencing. I don't know. Anyway, the last point, you say, as a lot of people have said, that you shouldn't inflict pain on one person in order to create pleasure for another person. I've been rambling quite a long time, so I won't go into too much detail on this one. I'm happy to talk about that again. A lot of people, as I say, sort of think your kind of angle on that one for the sake, because of individual rights, or like the separateness of persons is a phrase that I think John Rawls, the philosopher, came up with. Yeah, it's a quite a common position. I kind of just think that it is worth doing it to one person for the sake of another, and I mean, one argument for that is that the whole of society seems like a transport system wouldn't function if it wasn't for, you know, we wouldn't be able to have a transport system if it wasn't for the few people getting accidents. I mean, we wouldn't be able to we can't make it 100% safe, and so in order to travel around like we do, some people have to be killed or have to be injured. So anybody who thinks you can't inflict any pain on someone for the sake of pleasure would probably have to say that we can't hardly do anything really. I mean, especially if you take the pinprick as an example of pain. I mean, it's impossible to live without inflicting pain on people. But I think you accept that we shouldn't be really existing. We should just end everything, I think. So it's good that you're prepared to, you know, stand by what you believe in, and I think you do take your beliefs to their kind of logical conclusions, as I try to do. Okay. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for your videos to me, and I'll see you soon. All the best.